Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I am, of course, Nick McDaniel, and as always, I am joined by Mud Byron.
I have adrenaline in my soul today, Nick. Do you?
I don't know, man. They may have taken it all out of me, man. They may have taken it all out of it. Maybe you're all rocked out of me, if you want to say, you know.
I think today is going to be full of predictions and ranting and raving, from what I've seen. How about you?
Predictions more for me. I'm not ranting and raving. I think people are overreacting, and we'll get to that here in a minute as we talk a bunch of stuff, man. But listen, before we get started, as always, we like to remind you, Myron, tend them on over to the YouTube or the Patreon channels. That's right, man. You get the show, like, listen, this show drops on Thursday. You would have heard it on Wednesday at patreon.com/tappedoutpod or over on the YouTube at youtube.com. The handle there is tappedoutpod. Make sure you're, liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, all that stuff. But look, we've been actually, if you just want to make, like, you don't, even on patreon.com, we're posting stuff to everybody after it goes out to the public. So it's not just behind a paywall. I mean, like, look, it does come out, and then it is the audio, the visual, the notes, the top 5. All that stuff is being released over there as well. Look, the Georgia Indy show now, it'll be dropped there as well. It'll be behind the paywall early, and then it'll drop out to the public later on. So you could do that at either YouTube or on patreon.com/tappedoutpod.
Cool.
But look, I guess we're going to dive right into the big stuff, man.
What happened this week?
Dude, you would have thought, so after we recorded last week, and when we went into that recording, at that moment, we only knew that Seth Rollins pleaded his case for Cody.
On Monday.
On Monday, that's right. He's on Raw. He challenged Cody. Let me ask you a dumb question. We're going to take this in phases. This might be the biggest chunk of the show, by the way. Let's just go ahead and forewarn people. This is probably going to be the biggest chunk. Seth Rollins has been beaten by Cody Rhodes 3 times. Seth hasn't beaten him yet. Cody beat him with a torn pec. And Seth Rollins was 100% in a Hell in a Cell. Seth Rollins now has a bum leg. Why do you think you're going to beat him again?
But was this the new Seth Rollins? Was this the Seth Rollins that has the title? Was this the new Seth Rollins, the inspired Seth Rollins that dances around?
Yes, it was. Same, but here's the difference. Cody had a torn pec. You were at 100%.
Pec.
You have a bad wheel now, and Cody's at 100%. Myron, I repeat my question. Why do you think you're going to beat him again?
Because he's Seth freaking Rollins, Nick.
He's the guy that goes, I'm due. He sat at the blackjack table. He lost 3 straight hands. He's going to keep going because he's like, I'm due. All right.
But he has the nerve to challenge him, Nick. He's Seth freaking Rollins. Nick, it's...
All right. Let's be honest. So that was last week.
Enjoy it.
That wasn't... By the way, this is the funny thing is that's not the thing people are complaining about. Friday, Cody Rhodes comes out on Smackdown. And look, you guys know we don't normally do this kind of like reviewing what happened on TV show.
We were at a show.
Yeah, we watched it later, literally after that show. We literally watched it in the back in the locker room. We all watched it. Like it was us and a few of the wrestlers watched that segment on my phone. And Cody comes out, basically tells Roman, yeah, I know. I've been chasing this story for 2 years. Yeah, I know. I won the Royal Rumble 2 times. Challenged you last year and lost. Fought through finishing the story. Won the Rumble again. I get to challenge anybody I want. Even told you, by the way, Saturday night after I won the Rumble, pointed to you and said, I'm coming for you. To be talked out of it by Seth Rollins and some people that he had counseled with, and he had come to the conclusion that he is coming for that championship, but not at WrestleMania, because he talked to somebody that knows Roman very well. Cue up The Rock's music. The Rock comes strolling down. By the way, I am stealing this from Conrad Thompson. He said a friend of his was in that building, and his friend told him that was the absolute loudest reaction he's ever heard at the old Von Braun Center / Propes, whatever they call it now, whatever the name of the building is now, for a wrestling event.
Well, that was in Birmingham.
Correct.
So the crowd in Birmingham seemed to like it. The crowd in Birmingham did not seem to care that Cody was giving over his whole legacy, the story. The crowd in Birmingham blew for The Rock.
Okay, there's where I think that's what people are kind of getting lost on. I think it was such a Pavlovian response, right? That's a word that people like to use.
Yeah, that's a word.
Hey, it's a return. It's a Rock. Bah! They popped and they reacted. I don't think it quite sunk in at that moment yet. And because they were even like, oh, yeah. But once they had time to like digest it and think about it, I think most people were like, wait, what? Wait, so Cody's not, we're not getting Cody versus Roman? And then the backlash, like you talked about, the booing Rock, at the next live event when they show the thing, over 500,000. I didn't even know this, by the way. I heard this on Jeff's podcast. Did you know they turned off the likes dislike function on that video?
Yeah, so they had to.
They didn't have to.
Well, they did, but I mean, they turned it off because it just got out of hand.
It was I think it had gotten up to, it was over, I know, over 500,000 dislikes. Yes. So here's the thing. They're talking. People are talking. To the point, like, then signs showed up at, like, this is the great debate, by the way. Were the signs legit? Were fans handing them out? And or was WWE handing them out? I know that you said they did it at NXT. Then apparently they did it at live events, et cetera, et cetera. So one, I'm asking you, do you really think they were just caught off guard? Because and I'm layers to why I'm asking this. One, like, did they really just not see a backlash happening?
I don't know if they did or not. I don't even know. I think they were in a bad situation. Horrible situation last week. The worst situation in WWE history. They had a company that was on the verge of sinking and didn't know what to do. They had to bring in some positivity. They brought in The Rock. And all of a sudden, they got the greatest distraction with this Cody Rhodes storyline. And they're like, feed it. Like it's like a train engine. Keep feeding cold. Like remember the old trains you used to see, Thomas the Train? Feed coal to it. Keep the engine, just get it going, steam full ahead. And nobody will remember what happened last week because all they're going to do is talk about Cody and The Rock. I don't even know if they know what they pivoted to because it's gotten so out of hand. But it's a lot better than what was happening. No, we're not going to have a special section where we're like, people, you can tune out now this week. We're not going to have like a section where we have to talk about all that horrible stuff that happened. Because we're all going to talk about wrestling and booking and things like that this week.
Right.
Because we're distracted because we've got something awesome to talk about.
Look, we're going to, like, part of this is going to be in layers and, with the whole Rock's involvement and stuff like that so that's going to be something we'll kind of peel through. This is an onion of many layers, as I like to say. So I think, yes, they, for all those reasons you just said, I think they decided, like, Rock's on the board. Rock's like, hey, let's do this. And there are many reasons. Huh?
Put me in, coach.
Yeah. Look, we'll do this. It'll be a huge thing or whatever. The irony brought up is Conrad Thompson brought up a very, very valid point. He was like, do you think Rock actually sits down in the last 2 years and has been watching Raw and SmackDown? Like, he's been building tequila companies, working on the XFL football. He's been doing all of these, he's been acting. He's been like, do you think he's watching? He may not even fully realize how invested the people were in the Cody story.
And he may not even care.
I think he does. And look, because I genuinely think he's probably a good dude at heart. I don't think he went in there going like, I'm going to screw Cody, blah, blah, blah. I think he thought by the way, he had people, we've been clamoring for this for years, right? I mean, it's been multiple years now. People have wanted to see Rock and Roman. So when he comes out, and I think when you saw the negativity that fought, like, by the way, completely disgraceful by wrestling fans that they ran his daughter off of social media.
Oh, God, I am
just
so
disgusting.
mad about that. I am so damn mad. I mean, I've never even seen his daughter wrestle. I've seen her in NXT. She's been in factions. Now she's commissioner, whatever they want to call her, general manager.
Yeah.
She seems she's doing a good job. Whatever. But you don't bully this. You know who her uncle is? Haku. Okay.
Do you wonder if she got a GM role because her daddy was gaining some power? Could happen.
He gained a lot of power. But Haku needs to go bite every one of those keyboard warriors fucking nose off, Nick. You want to teach some lessons? Haku, go bite their damn noses off. That'd teach you a lesson. That'd teach you who to bully and make somebody. God, this is just despicable. I'm so sick of the people on the internet thinking they can bully wrestlers and do this kind of stuff. And if nothing else, these are women. Have some respect, man.
Yeah, it was so that part was that was the negative thing. Then all of the pushback, and then it's like, hey, look, but then some things come out and like, hey, did they pivot? Because then we started to see, on Monday we saw like, well, Cody and the Nakamura thing, I think, was like, let's finish that story off. And that was some cool stuff they pulled off there. But then Drew's into the mix. And all of a sudden you're like, wait, what? By the way, Drew heel, he's awesome.
I like heel Drew, but I don't understand what he's going to do or where he's going to do it or why.
So he's making you wonder what's next.
Yeah.
That's his job. He is. I love stories that create the question marks. But the question I want to ask you though is, it's like, are they pivoting based on like, look, Rock even made some comments. Cody's like, they both love the passion. They both have referenced that they love the fans' passion. Cody kind of had that, trust me, just wait. Like, slow down, people. So my thing is, have they worked us this whole time? Like, here's the thing. Either this entire thing's been a work, or they're smart enough to pivot on a dime and go like, dude, this is the direction we got to figure out something that, completely. Here's the thing. Either way, I'm all for it, dude.
Oh yeah. I mean, like, I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying the storyline. Roman is head of the table. He's never going to lose being head of the table by Cody Rhodes. He'll lose his championship. Cody's not going to be able to. Cody's always going to be interfered with. There's always going to be an army of Samoans that are going to interfere with the matches unless he's no longer head of the table. Okay? Roman has to be stopped. The Rock has to be able to stop Solo and Jimmy from coming down to the ring and causing problems. And the only way to do that is to take away the head of the table. That way he ensures Cody gets a fair fight. Now, you have to remember, we've got a ton of pay-per-views coming. We got a ton of pay-per-views coming in other countries. I finally got the next pay-per-views. I got the calendar out. Okay? I put it on my computer. I stuck it in the notes so I could remember where everything was. It's on my main screen now. We've got Australia, WrestleMania, France, Toronto, Berlin. So of the next 5 pay-per-views, 4 are in different countries. They need a little magic there if they're going to draw attendance.
I think they're fine without. I have a different path.
And make people pay attention to
them. There's a different path. But I'm just saying, look, with the social media comments and look, Sammy cutting promos in the ring talking about the We Want Cody movement. They're people putting stuff on social media. Busted Open's doing a We Want Cody rally. By the way, LaGreca's buddies with Cody. Like, look, all these parts lead to me to go like, you might be being worked, folks. I'm just saying. It is a possibility.
Cody's pulling in all his friends. He's making everybody pay attention. He's getting everybody involved. I mean, hell, we're going to be around some people that knew his dad tomorrow. maybe they'll be putting over some stuff. You know, what's to say Glacier won't be telling us some stuff like about how Cody's been wrong and putting out some stuff. It, it's it's beautiful how deep this goes. I, I just I'm loving. If I'm being worked, I'm love it. If
Yeah,
I'm not, I'm entranced by the
but
storyline.
listen, even if they pivoted, let's say that this wasn't the original plan. Somebody asked me the other day, well then, I'm like, look, there is a way to get out of this. And by the way, I don't need other pay-per-views. Look, I've got one pay-per-view and multiple shows before WrestleMania to accomplish what I think is easy to be done. It's not that complicated, folks.
And WrestleMania is 2 nights. Don't forget.
Correct.
2 nights.
Yeah, and that's going to lead into what I got. Here we go. Let's say Cody, because here's the thing, by the way. Cody hasn't said he's wrestling Seth yet. We're all following this like we were all hook, line, and sinker. By the way, Rock hasn't said they're wrestling. By the way, this media event's coming up. Could change everything, by the way.
Thursday
everything. Look, we're recording Wednesday. If you're listening Thursday or after, things change. Here's what I say you do. That's if it were me personally. If they don't announce any of the matches finally, whatever. The key to my idea, Cody does not tell Seth he's wrestling him.
No.
Rock can tell you he's wrestling Roman all he wants. You know why? That's fine. We're going to wrestle. He goes, but it's not for the title. It's for the head of the table. They do a contract signing, and the second Roman signs that contract and locks him into a match with The Rock at WrestleMania for the head of the table, and that contract is handed back to Nick Aldis, Cody's music hits. Cody comes out, and they both stand side by side, him and The Rock, and go, we got you. Rock is wrestling you night 1 of WrestleMania for the head of the table. I never said I was wrestling Seth. I'm claiming my Rumble spot, and I'm wrestling you night 2 for that belt. For those
so what
titles.
You're telling me, Nick McDaniel, is tomorrow, which will be Thursday, when the show drops in the morning, you get up. This will be when this is Thursday morning when y'all are listening to this. Listen to this show. Take notes if you have to, because when that WWE press conference happens, what Nick is saying will start coming true.
Because let me ask you this, Myron. At the press conference, the media event, whatever the hell they're calling it, here's my argument. You don't need Cody to announce he's wrestling Seth there. All the people want to hear is The Rock say he's wrestling Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. You're announcing that match is happening. That's all the press buzz. You don't need to say it's for the title. It's not for the title. He says, I'm getting in the ring and I'm challenging Roman Reigns for WrestleMania. Then on SmackDown, you start the ballpark going.
The next night.
Yeah. Because then everybody goes, well, what about Seth? You just inserted Drew. He's replacing, because he's got the Punk stuff all over his shirt. Punk was, originally supposed to be the Seth opponent. So just insert Drew right into that story. And by the way, how do you get there? How about you let Drew McIntyre win the Elimination Chamber to fight Seth Rollins?
Okay, I like what you're doing. So fantasy booking really, really well, Nick.
So you start, by the way, peeling and unraveling something. Rock and Cody, not only did they outsmart Roman Reigns and the Bloodline, you outsmarted the wise man. Roman starts to lose faith in Paul Heyman. You got outsmarted, sir. That's a problem. So then you get night 1, you get Roman versus Rock for the head of the table. who does what we discussed, we talked about in the past. If he takes the head of the table, the whole plan's done because Cody knows he was never getting a full shot. Because Rock, says you're never going to get a full shot, fair shot at that title until he doesn't have the bloodline with him. I take away the bloodline night 1, you get a fair shot night 2, and in 2 nights at WrestleMania, the Roman Empire falls. He loses the head of the table, he loses the title, and he completely is a broken man. And Myron, what do they say we love in this country? We love to build people up, to tear them down.
And then we love a redemption story.
We love a redemption story. And so it begins. Even if he's gone for 6 months, whatever, he gets to build up. He gets to build it, By the way, I do ask people this. This is another odd question I like to ask. Over the last few months, year or so, hasn't WWE built a little bit of trust for you that they'll figure this out and get it right in the end?
As far as booking and everything else, I think they've done a wonderful job. There's a reason they're at an all-time high. Okay? There's a reason things are better than ever. It's because they've been doing a really good job.
Yeah. And look, I'm going to give you a key piece to this puzzle. Brian Gewirtz. He is handling, look, people forget, he handles a lot of Rock's out of wrestling, like, stuff. He's got a bigger image that he's worried about than just wrestling. If he's handling and by the way, he did some of your favorite stuff that back in the day in the Attitude Era. Yeah, he wrote it.
Oh.
I mean, look, the Billy and Chuck wedding that everybody talks about. Ta-da! Guess who wrote that? He did. But like, so my point being is he has wrestling knowledge. He has inside stuff. So therefore, I think he's smart enough to go, hey guys, one, we can't have him booed out there like this. Like, we need that guy being cheered like he's the top, he's the biggest superstar on the planet. Hey, and when he says he's probably pointing to him and Rock. Like, we need him to be cheered. We can't go into Philadelphia and have a repeat of when he was out there throwing Roman Reigns' hand up and getting booed. You remember that? That's the last time they were there. He threw Roman's hand up. I think it was a Rumble, and they booed the shit out of him because they wanted somebody else instead. All that being said, look, G-Pie, friend of the show, messaged me, and said, people also have to keep into account one very important thing. Timing is everything. Rock is a busy dude. People are like, well, why don't you let him fight him at SummerSlam for the head of the table? Rock may not be free at SummerSlam. He's telling you right now, I'm free.
That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one, G-Pie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, dude, if he's got a window, guess what you have to do? You have to take the window. There's more than one way to skin a cat, and that's why we look, maybe you could still get there between now and then.
I never understood why people wanted to skin a cat so much. But
I never understood. I've never understood it either. Look, I'm not saying, like, there was a question out there about Cody's story. Why is it more important than the bloodline? I think it's hotter, not bigger. The bloodline story's been going on for a while.
They're heels. And they've milked it. They've spun off Jay. They can't spin off Jimmy. Okay? He ain't got the yeet. He's not yeetable. Solo, I haven't seen a side that they can spin off yet. Heyman's always going to be a heel. I don't think you can make babyface Paul Heyman. What do you think?
Oh, you could. I mean, do I think they do? No, but you could. I mean, look, people want to love him. I mean, look, once you're around for so long, I think there's such a nostalgia to you. It's not a hard turn. Now, here's the thing. I think he's a better heel, so you're better off leaving him that way, but I'm not saying making him babyface could be done. I mean, it just, simply can. But it's all going to come down to creative. But Myron, let's look. It's kind of an extension of what we're talking about. This was one that kind of did catch me off guard a little bit. Somebody sent in and asked the question: could The Rock be setting the table? Like, could he literally be could the table be being set for him to be the Triple H replacement if he gets caught up in the Vince mess? Let's call it what it is. And if he has to end up being pulled out, you know, because look, there ain't no wrestling person on the board anymore. Rock is de facto now the wrestling guy on the board. And from my understanding, Gerwitz is going to be his proxy because Brock ain't going to be able to be there all the time.
My friend that I used to go to wrestling with, probably back before my daughter was born, so that's over 20 years ago, that was asking me, where's Stephanie? Where's Shane? And I was like, well, Shane got the hell out, but Stephanie's still married to HHH, so she's technically around.
She's at home being a mom and probably doing shit she wants to be actually around.
And avoiding the hell out of this shit. So it's kind of, she's not involved. There's another McMahon. So Triple H is the closest thing to a McMahon on this whole thing. So if it's all a McMahon stink, pardon my allusion, if it's a McMahon stink they want to remove from the board, Triple H will.
Well, Triple H ain't on the board.
Well, sorry,
he's just had a creative. My thing is if they like totally clean house, like they're like, hey, we need to just clean house here and get anybody that has any, you know, proximity to the Vince thing, let's move them. Look, by the way, I think that's a horrible idea, but I understand, especially if it comes out that he was aware of some things. That's the hard part.
How could he not have been aware, Nick? I mean, I hate to say that.
Dude, if he's working and he's working out, he's going home with his kids and his wife.
He was wrestling while all that was going on. Am I incorrect?
Oh, that's incorrect because this was the last couple of years. Some of this is like 99, 2000, 2001, 2000. Like, yeah, so that's like 2021. So that era. So he wasn't wrestling. I mean, but he did a Saudi show or something. But I mean, as a whole, like some of this stuff's late.
So he was in the office building.
Oh yeah, 100%. So here's the thing: there has to be some. Did you hear things that you're just like, there's no way, or did you know? To me, there's like, you know what I mean? Things get convoluted. So I'm not going down that rabbit hole. We're not doing that this week. My thing is if God forbid he is pulled out. Look, you've got Gerwitz who you could slide in to head creative. Because look, a lot of it, you know, I don't know how much people have faith in him. TKO gave The Rock like a ton, you know, like we thought, oh, he got his name back. No, bro, there's a list of trademarks that he got that is just off the charts insane. Like he got a lot to come in, you know, and everybody's like, oh, he got 30 million in stock. Well, he got 30 million. He got 30 million that day, like what it was worth at that moment. The stock has gone up some. So he has more than 30 million in stock now. I think he's brought in to be a face. Look, Cody can be the face of the WWE. That's a whole other argument, right? But a face of the brand that is TKO / WWE, like as a whole, the Netflix deal, Endeavor in acting, like all of the pieces of puzzle are covered here. Because I promise you, look, Rock, he has had it. Like people don't want to say this about Rock because everybody loves The Rock. I've had moments where I'm not a massive fan of The Rock for a lot of things.
Yeah.
He's put out. Look, by the way, we talked about the one he did with Reynolds, Godot, the Thief Netflix. I thought that was pretty good. It wasn't great, but it was pretty good. A lot of people just trashed Black Adam, the movie.
Never saw
it. As I always say about most things, it wasn't great. It wasn't really good, but it wasn't as bad as everybody says, in my opinion, which doesn't matter. But that's just my take. But he needs some. Bless you. He needs something. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
He needs something. And I think, hey, Rock, why don't you come in and why don't you make a Netflix movie again? Like, hey, no, he did. Look, he did the one that he's done the latest that I liked was the Netflix movie he did with Reynolds and Godot. That's what I was just saying.
Well, I mean, he's got total access to Netflix. You know, he's got an in with them. And
you have
people
a
miss out on
partnership.
that with WWE.
'Cause
They've got.
look, if he gives them a brother deal on a movie here and there, it might lead to, hey, this Netflix deal after 5 years, it might be beneficial to us in more than one way.
Yes.
And that's the endeavor, the TKO, like the package, the deal that's why I think this game. So do I think Rock's going to be eventually? I think it would be a mistake, but again, we don't know what we don't know. I think he becomes more figurehead face of WWE. So I understand a lot of what's going on. I really do. But look, there's lots and lots of pieces there, lots and things to consider. But look, if I were a betting man, I think Triple H is okay. I don't know why I think this. I have no reason. This is like one of those bets that I have no idea.
I put my money on Triple H.
I would too. Maybe there's a prop bet, Myron, with our friends over at Prize Picks, maybe, that where you're like, hey, how long is Triple H going to be there? Is he 6 months? Is he a year? Or does he stay for good? Problem is you can't pay out because you don't really, know. But the big game is this weekend. That's right. The big game, in air quotes, is this weekend. Take advantage, man, and get your bets in. Prop bets. Hey, is Mahomes going to throw over so many yards? How many touchdowns are they going to have? All that and more with our friends over at Prize Picks.
You still working on this?
It's 2 minutes to kickoff. Who do I pick?
2 words. Prize Picks. It's so easy.
Prize Picks is daily fantasy sports made easy. It's just you against the number. Simply pick the over-under on 2 or more players, and that's it. You can win up to 10 times your money in just one day. Join over 150,000 people who found a better way to play. Download the Prize Picks app today and get your first deposit match up to $100.
That's right, man. Check them on over at Prize Picks. Get your bets in right there, right before the big game, and take advantage. And I always tell people the games are usually got a little more action. When you got some action on the game, it's always a little more fun and a little more, exciting. And that's just my take. So Prize Picks, check them out, prizepicks.com, or right there on the app on your device as well.
Are you interested in the big game? I mean,
yes,
you are.
I'll watch it. Yeah, I'll watch it. We're not going to do a Super Bowl like we normally do because we've got a bunch of junk going on up until then. But yeah, I'm probably going to watch it.
I'll have it on probably. I just want to see Taylor Swift. So I can just be a dick and make fun of people who hate Taylor Swift. I don't really have any.
She's so hated. She won her 13th and 14th Grammy this week as well.
I don't really have any care at all about Taylor Swift, but since other people hate her, it's fun for me to.
She got a new album. She announced it when she won her 14th album. When she won her 14th Grammy, she announced her new album coming out, folks. It's coming out in April, I believe. My friends will correct me because I'm sure they will, but that was what word of the street was anyway. So
I can't wait. Hopefully, she'll show up at wrestling sometime and bother people there too, because I'm done with wrestling fans. I am done with this. So we got something new come out. They've been building to it. First time of 2024, the new AEW rankings.
Yep, they did come out. Listen, I think we probably have contradictory opinions of them.
Well, good and bad.
Yeah.
I like the fact that they were kayfabed a good bit. I don't like the sports package. I don't like the fact that they were things that AEW had been presented like a sport in the past. I really don't care for wrestling as a sport. I like wrestling as sports entertainment. I don't need to see how much the win-loss record is. When you look at it, when you see Deonna Purrazzo as your number one contender for any of the women's championships, she just got there. So she has moved ahead of women who've been there for a while. And you don't have to justify that with a win-loss record. Yeah.
No, yeah.
I like that part. I also just think, yeah.
Look, we talked about it. Look, what I like about it, I do like the old PWI kind of style. The problem where I think, look, I don't know that I like, if you go onto their website, the way the champions are kind of separated, and then you have like a top 5.
Yeah.
Back in the old PWI rankings, it would be like WWF at the time, and it would be like Hogan.
Yes.
And then your top 10 was underneath them, but your Intercontinental Champion was in there somewhere. Like it was, like most of the time it was one or whatever, you know, but it would be two sometimes. And I joked with you off air, like when it was Honky Tonk Man, he would be like the fourth or fifth.
Yeah.
And there would be, you know, like Savage and the Warrior or whatever would be above him. So I wish the champions were kind of, here's the problem. I was like, I wish the champions were just listed into the bulk of the other names and you had a top 10. Yeah. But it does, I'll ask you again, and you, listen, if you're, to the listeners, tapthatpod@gmail.com, this is the conversation piece. It's a twofold. Like, if you put the titles in there, they overrun the top 10 because you have too many belts. Let's be blunt. We've talked about it on a regular basis. You've got too many champions. Oh, and by the way, then you kind of almost have to pecking order your titles officially.
Yeah.
Almost. But the other issue that I have, not doing it that way, that's why I say you need to do it. But the reason you shouldn't put them in there, but then the other reason you should, you have a top 5 list that kind of screams that their roster's not that deep. You don't even have a top 10. You have a top 5.
Well, you have an incredibly deep roster, but you don't have a roster you can do that much with.
Yeah.
You have a roster that has a very high, a high top end that you have to put on television because they're the ones people want to see. And then you've got this glut of talent down at the bottom that you've signed that you're misusing and you're
but
just
here's
not
the thing,
taking
Myron.
care
Don't
of.
you think there's something to be gained there for putting some of those guys that are up and coming, put them at 10? Gives them a little recognition. And that's what I meant by like, have a top 10. I agree 100%.
Yes.
And by the way, we joked about the women's division. There's a top 5 after their 2 champions. And I went, look, by the way, tapthatpod@gmail.com, send all your complaints to that one. I know they're coming from what I'm about to say. I'm like, but where's Britt Baker? Like, where's Saraya? Like, I don't even see 2 of their biggest names. And, you know, like they took the win-losses off, like you said, so it doesn't really matter. Wins and losses matter, right? Yeah. The quality of the wins and losses, I mean, at least that's what the college football playoff tells us.
What if they need to pivot? What if they need to do something like this whole Cody and Roman and the Rock thing? What if they need to make a big, if you put a ranking system out there and all of a sudden you have to do something big to change, or you have to have like if you want to do an elimination chamber, well, you know who's got to win. If they do a women's elimination chamber style match, Deonna Purrazzo has to win technically because she's the number 1 contender. You can't have a different number. I don't understand. I just like more flexibility. I don't like always knowing. I think number 1 contendership should be something that's not told to people. If you're going to do it, I got it. I like it. The fact they've done it where it's kayfabe with no records, but I like more kayfabe than this.
I think people would get hung up on the records, and college football proved that. But I do think kind of having that flexibility where there's, like if all of her she's got 2 losses, this one has 0, but they're wrestling the guys that are not even in the top 10. You know what I mean? Like, then like,
strength of schedule. Oh yeah, we're gonna start figuring strength of schedule.
We're going strength of schedule argument. Yeah, I agree. So I mean, look, but it is what it is. But then I also want to push back on, like we talked about the depth, like make it a top 10, kind of bring it all together. If you don't have 10 tag teams for ranking, I mean, it's really going to push me over to my trios argument. Like, we argue why do you even need a trios title, but there's a lot
of tag teams in the trios. FTR is in the trios. Why the hell is FTR in the trios when everybody says they're the best tag team ever? Are the best tag team practice? You know, Cornette says they're one of the best tag teams right now, but they're in the trios. The Hardys are in the trios.
They've taken tag teams, added a guy, and now you have a trios. So I think those belts were made just for certain guys to have a chance, maybe, if that's what we're going for.
Briscoe, some of the other guys, I'm not sure who's in every trios team. I can look if I need to, but
yeah, I don't know. Let us know what you think of the rankings, because I mean, it makes, you know,
third wheel should be the name of the belt. The third wheel
belt.
Belt.
I mean, look, House of Black, they have 3. Like, there are groups that have 3. Like, technically, I mean, you know, I mean, they're the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn. They're a trio. So, I mean, they make sense. They're a group. Like, a group makes sense. That's my own point. But, yes, when you're taking a tag team, adding a dude to it, that's not, you know, like, I get some people are going to argue with me, well, the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn, that's what that, no,
He's
they're
a
like,
manager.
well, they're a package. Yeah, they're told, like, they are a package already. So, but look, I do want to ask you, Myron, just a little bit. One of the teams that's ranked, and it's a valid argument. This is record, prestige, and it all. Sting's last match has been announced. We know that it's going to be Sting and Darby versus somebody. Look, we know it's the Bucks at this point. We got it.
Yeah. Okay.
They just haven't confirmed, announced, whatever. Whatever the faces are. So it's Sting and the Bucks.
Yeah. Sting and the Bucks.
Sold out, by the way. Greensboro Coliseum sold out. No matches have been set for this pay-per-view. None. It's Revolution. Not a single match has been officially announced.
But it's sold out.
Sold out, purely sold on it. Sting's last match.
From my understanding, if you were to put a folding chair somewhere in one of the aisles, it would be sold too. That's how hot the ticket is.
They keep, like, it was funny, like, they had it was sold out. They, like, moved some production stuff around, and, like, we got 44 seats and they sold out. Then they move around, like, oh, we got 32 seats. Boom.
So they picked who to do the commentary?
Well, look, yeah. I mean, look, they have announced coming out that it's Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone will do the call, but I think it can show you. Here's my argument. This is kind of what I'm like. You're sitting in that arena and you're not going to hear the commentary. That's irrelevant. But that's another key to something else. But they sold 20,000 tickets essentially, and people are saying, like, oh, but they can't sell, it's the question of why. Why can you sell 20,000 one night and then it's struggling selling 3 the other night? It's content.
You're giving people what they want, not what you want to see. Tony Khan's not booking this for Tony Khan. Tony Khan is booking this for what people want. Sting knows what
they haven't booked Dick, Myron.
They ain't got to book Dick.
No,
you're teasing people. It
has nothing. This is my argument, pushing back. Nothing to do with their booking. It has nothing to do with, literally, Sting's last match. It's like Ric Flair's last match, right? It's his last chance you're going to get to see him wrestle, theoretically. Look, now, do I think it will be? Yeah, I don't think Sting's the guy that comes back. I think all of the moving parts heading there of getting, like, why the Young Bucks? That was a big one. Like, look, we were told, rumors are. I don't know if it's true. Here's my new game, Myron. We just go, I don't know if this is true. This is what was said, and this is what the rumors are. That Sting picked the Bucks. Why did he pick the Bucks? Well, he already said he wanted it to be a tag match. He didn't want it to be a singles match. So that means you got to find a tag team. He knew the Bucks would make them look good. Oh, and by the way, I'm not going down this rabbit hole, but apparently they both have a similar faith and religion, and that he likes them for that, and they have a bond over that. So guess what? He's going to pick them to be. And by the way, you know what I tell people when they start arguing about who his opponent should be? So you know better than Sting does? Like, it's literally. I mean, if it was his choice, which it's supposed to have been, then you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Nick, if you let the internet wrestling community book the Bible, okay, they would look at the Bible and say, God was a lot like George Goulas. They both put their son over. I mean, Jesus got 12 disciples, but, God was a lot like Nick Goulas. I apologize. God was a lot like Nick Goulas. They both put their son over. Jesus had 12 disciples, but George got to work with Bobby Eaton. So, I mean, what's better? It's just, what's better for Sting than Sting? You know what's better for Sting than Sting, for Christ's sake, people?
Right. That's kind of what I'm saying.
Sting pick his opponent.
At this point, that's all that we should care about. is Sting gets to go out the way Sting wants to. He's earned it at this point. He has put in his time. He's put in his dues and then some. He has done so many good things. It's just time for us to go like, hey, let him have his what now. Look, I know some people argue, well, he should do the time-honored tradition and go down, go out on his back the 1, 2, 3, which he may. I don't know. Time will tell. Because look, we've had the arguments, Myron. He has, up to this point, by the way, we're recording Wednesday morning. Dynamite's tonight. Him and Darby are challenging for the tag gold, and therefore we don't know. So as of our recording, they haven't been defeated. Sting hasn't. He's never had gold. All that could change tonight / last night, depending on when you're hearing this. Because the $1 million question is, how do we get there? That's always the story. How do we get to the Bucks? Do the Bucks interfere tonight? Do they cost him his first loss? Therefore, that's why he's choosing to go after them and wrestle them. Do they somehow win the tag gold and the Bucks get involved? Therefore, the Bucks versus them is going to be for the gold. Look, there's all these moving parts, and we're going to find out tonight. So we're not going to go down that rabbit hole to that extent. But here's the $1 million question, Myron. How many times has Sting trusted Ric Flair, and Sting has gotten a knife right in his back from one Ric Flair? And does time... don't we always say, if you don't learn from your mistakes, you're bound to repeat them? Do we see a Ric Flair turn and do we see it?
Have they ever had any problem in Greensboro before, Nick?
Dude, it's a constant. Their whole thing is just a constant door of he trusts Rick turns on him. He trusts Rick, he turns on him. So my question simply is, does tappedoutpod@gmail.com, does Ric Flair turn on him before his last match, at his last match, or not at all? Those are the three things, that's what we want to know at tappedoutpod@gmail.com. But look, there's just tons of it, man. I'm excited for it. It might be the first pay-per-view that I pay for and watch live in a couple pay-per-views. I've watched most of them after the fact, but
I haven't watched. I haven't paid, I haven't paid for. Not only have I not paid for, I haven't watched one of their pay-per-views, even pirated it, in a long time because I didn't give a shit. But I want to see Sting's last match. I don't like the Bucks, but I think he's safe working against them. I would trust them.
You will forget to the point, but because them and Darby are going to do so much high-flying stuff that when Sting's in there, that can be the dip spots. Look, by the way, he's done some crazy shit since he's been there. But I'm just saying it's not out of the realm of possibility that, that he's in there for the slow, and then he'll be taken well care of. I don't doubt that in the least. So, but man, that leads us into the next thing we wanted to talk about. We wanted to talk about, somebody else being taken care of. And we're not going to spend a ton of time on this, but Kamille, former NWA women's champion. It's funny because everything that on my notes is question mark because everybody seems to know what's going on with her.
Well, I mean, I'm going to say I'm a Kamille expert I've got 2 autographed pictures right there, and I've got a third one I haven't put up yet. So sources, I'm a source close. I know her. Jesus Christ, people. She got frustrated yesterday on social media and was, everybody knows, everybody's saying where I'm going. Here's the thing. Why are we, everything I looked at yesterday getting ready for the show told me where Kamille was going. And Camille's like, no. Why do we, she walked, I don't even know if she was at an AEW show to visit friends, but how many times have we been backstage, Nick, and seen people visiting?
Look, there have been AEW contracted employees or wrestlers at WWE shows, vice versa, NXT, blah, blah. Oh, God forbid, Buddy Matthews is an AEW, and he's with Rhea Ripley, and Charlotte was with Andrade when he was in AEW, and on and on and on and on. So this kind of stuff happens. But here's the thing, like you said, they're talking about, is she WWE bound? Because it was, she's going to NXT. Then it's, now she's going with, Mercedes Moné, and they're both going to show, not together, but they're both going to, come in to AEW. My answer is simple, man. Look, time will tell. she's going to land on her feet and she's going to be great no matter where she goes.
Yeah.
I mean, I really would.
But let's real quick. You go to WWE, you've got access to everything. Their TV deals with Netflix, their movie deals with Netflix, their TKO money, all of that stuff.
I think the money, I don't think the money deserves to even have a conversation in that place anymore, because I think Tony Khan's proven he will pay as much or more than WWE.
But what's he going to do with it?
That's a different argument. My argument for her, look, we don't know, and we're not saying we know. My thing was like, look, and I'm just saying if she got to choose, and we don't know if she's getting to choose, we don't know any of that. Your argument to say why would she prefer one over the other, or I mean, why, if I were her, let me back. If I were her, I would prefer it because I don't know. People were throwing out there like, hey, she wants to get into acting, so therefore she should go to AEW so she'll have more free time to do it. I'm like, or she could go to NXT and work for a company who's got a talent agent, that under the umbrella, so she can maybe get help getting movie gigs and potentially Netflix gigs at this point.
She was in that Mildred Burke movie.
Right, that's my point.
She's got a theatrical agent now.
Yeah.
If she doesn't want to wrestle for the rest of her life and wants to be an actress, go to the company that's involved in acting. Go to the company that's got, oh God.
But she would have more free time with AEW to do the acting. So that's a double-edged sword. I mean, especially if she's already got her own agent and all that kind of stuff. I mean, so that's my point. Those things could be argued for sure. It is what it is. But we love her to death. We think she's going to be great no matter where she goes, and time will tell. I don't care. Look, who's to argue, by the way, that TNA is not a good avenue for her? Would you not pay to see Jordan Grace versus Kamille in a match?
I think we're going to see that in WWE before too long. Well, okay, we're going to get to see that in WWE. I really do believe both of those women will be in NXT wrestling and beating the hell out of each other with all those giant muscles before too long.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Time will tell, like I said, man. But, hey, we got some other stuff we want to talk about. But before we do, we want to remind you again, check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com. The handle there is TappedOutPod, @TappedOutPod. And, like the page, subscribe, turn your notifications on, all that good stuff. You can pay to get stuff behind the paywall, all that good stuff. And, of course, we tell you the same over at patreon.com/TappedOutPod. But again, look, we know some of you guys, your podcast listeners, look, we were talking to some people that were like, hey, yeah, man, I put it on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon, Google Podcasts, iHeartMedia, anywhere and everywhere there's a podcast platform. We are there for sure. Make sure you're subscribing. That way you don't miss an episode. It drops right to you, especially with the new show dropping every couple weeks. You don't have to wonder, is it this week? Is it this week? No, it'll drop right in there. To make sure you're subscribing. But speaking of Indy, man, let's get right into it. We want to just talk about a little quick stuff that we, experienced over the weekend. Lots of cool stuff. Yeah, 3 shows, bam, 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 back to back, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Wild nights, yeah.
Such a variety of independent wrestling we get in Georgia, just within a drive from where we live. Wonderful. We got to see WWE. We got to see Southern style wrestling. We got to see super indie wrestling. I had a blast, man, and got to see Sal Renaro on all 3 shows. I got 3 pictures if y'all saw that. Tell us what we saw, Nick. Tell these fine people.
Well, look, Southern Honor, the big story coming out of there. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff, and next week on the indie show. But look, Southern Honor, the big story was Exotic Youth had their big return. Under the Grapplers, that's a whole story. By the way, there's some stuff down the pike. This is why you want to be on behind the paywall and you want to get it early and often. I got a message from those guys. They want to talk. They have some dirty laundry they want to get out there. So that could be coming down the pike. Exotic Youth stole the Southern Honor tag team titles, per Gary Lamb, and Exotic Youth claims they took them fair and square, so time will tell.
I thought the Grapplers won.
That's what we're going to find out at the next show, so you're definitely going to want to check that
Number
out.
60. God almighty, that was a crazy, crazy show.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. And Gary got hit. chasing them out to the parking lot with us. Oh my God.
It's a mess, man. But speaking of the grapplers, the next night we're at Southern Fried, and apparently there's like 10 of them, it seems like. They had
my favorite tag team.
Yeah. They had a madness match. It was just total chaos versus Happy Madness for the Southern Fried Tag Team Championships. They did capture those. Happy Madness did, but not after just a whole flock of grapplers came out, and it was just chaos ensued. But they did capture those titles. So Happy Madness is your Southern Fried Tag Team Champions again. The card that kind of stole the weekend quietly was the Southern States Pro Jimmy Rave Cup.
Yeah.
I mean, the names that were on the card, just like, look, it sold it to us. Like, it didn't matter. It was the Jimmy Rave tournament. Joe Black, Carly Bravo, Martin Stone, Chip Day, Bryce Cannon, Sal Renaro. Like on and on and on. Did I miss anybody I'm like, I know I missed, I didn't get all the names in, but I was like, dude, this card was stacked.
Oh yeah. It was great.
Like there was no way I was going to miss it. That's all I'm going to say. And so we hit up there, and of course they crowned, during the cup tournament, they also chose the tournament to crown their first champion as well. Yeah. And Martin Stone is your Southern States Pro champion.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Martin Stone is a bad motherfucker.
Yeah.
I met him before through my great friend Dave Wills. Got to shake his hand again. Got to talk to some of the guys. Man, real happy with what they're doing right now. I love the fact they're so close to the house and that brewery, Monkey Wrench Brewery. Great venue. Venue for professional wrestling. I'm getting now, folks. I'm going to recommend you get your own chairs. I'm looking at a chair for myself for big men. Maybe I'll do a recommendation. Maybe we should introduce our own line of tapped out chairs for big men to take to shows. But folks, if you're around independent wrestling, and I know you're around independent wrestling, I don't think anyone outside or inside the sound of my voice is not around independent wrestling. It's a joy to be able to get to go to these shows. I love, shout out to Grandpa, 5-time Georgia Wrestling Referee of the Year. I love sitting and talking to him at shows and getting all kind of information and learning things. I bought 3 pounds of fresh pork sausage from Tracy at Southern Fried. I've done so many different things at these shows over the weekend. I bought a big thing of beer for my son Sunday at the brewery. All these different experiences, not just wrestling. We saw Pressure Washing Jamie, the guy that buys all the Cruel Spice on Friday night. All these friends we have. That's the cool part.
I mean, look, speaking of meeting, we're going to meet some more of them this Thursday, tomorrow. So as you're listening, it could be tonight. We'll be at Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling in McDonough. It was reserved seats only. You had to go online, reserve your seats. We got a couple. Boom, they were gone. Completely, just all of the tickets gone. So that'll be fun for sure. So Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling. Look, they've already announced Matt Cardona's going to be there. Ricky Starks is going to be there. Sunny Days, Glacier. I mean, just look, it's a loaded stack top to bottom, dude. So we're eager to get out there and see, because look, it's new, exciting, lots of stuff going on. I had multiple people tell me some stuff that like got me really excited about it. So we're excited to get out there and check it out. And that's not it, man. Not this weekend, but the next weekend on the 17th. I literally got this while we were recording, so I had to make sure we got it in. Confirmed for Disruptor on the 17th of February at Tannery Row Ale House in Buford. Slim J, and this is why it matters, on our show that we ran, Hell Freezes Over, Slim J defeated AC Mack and Vari Morales to capture. He basically took both titles, the Eastern Seaboard Championship and the Disruptor title. Slim J is putting the Disruptor Championship. He's giving Vari Morales a rematch.
Oh.
It's almost 2 years later. He's getting his rematch because they're starting back up. But Slim J versus Vari Morales for the Disruptor Championship. The first women's match in Disruptor history. People may be confused. Shotzi Blackheart did work their show, but she worked intergender matches. She worked Effie and somebody else on one of those matches as well.
Yeah, yeah.
It's Ivy Malibu and Steph DeLander going 1-on-1. And they recently, just days ago, they announced the bad boy Joey Janela. He's going to debut there as well. So that we're kind of excited about that one, man. February 17th, DisruptorWrestling.com. Pick up your tickets there. We'll be at the Tannery Row Ale House right there in Buford, man. Lots and lots of wrestling, here in Georgia for sure. I'm just ready for, to get it rolling again, man. Let's get out there. I'm probably going to need a weekend off this weekend.
Oh, I'm taking this weekend off. There were some really cool looking shows for this weekend, but I'm going to take the weekend off. Go ahead and get like a pre-Valentine's thing in with the wife. Help her do some stuff around the house. Watch the big game. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And get ready for, spending the next whole weekend at wrestling and doing all the stuff I enjoy so much. 24th is Elimination Chamber. 27th is another round of wrestling. Am I mistaken? Or is that the 24th?
Yeah.
Hell, there's so much wrestling going on, and I'm trying to catch every single bit of it. I have more adventures now than I did when I was a younger man. It's so much fun. It's so much fun.
Yep. So, man, if you are local, get out, check out an indie promotion somewhere. I keep trying to there's a list that I give shout out and full credit to Phil Stamper. He does a list that he does nationwide, and I try to share that on our Patreon page. It's public. It's open to everybody. So you can sign up for free to get the stuff that's public. You don't have to, everything, but you won't get everything that's behind the paywall, of course, but you can sign up at any point. So check it out over there, man. Anything else before we get out of here, brother?
Nope.
Well, what's the old saying, brother? If I've got nothing and you've got nothing, what time is it?
It's time to tap out.